Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We're super excited to be here, especially giving the first talk after the keynote. We feel very, very honored by that. My name is Sarah Guthals. I lead DevRel at Sentry, which I'm going to give you an intro to. So if you don't know what Sentry is yet, no worries. And then we've got Krystof.
Yeah, so hello, everyone. I'm Krystof. I'm the software engineer at Sentry working on the React Native SDK.
And today we're going to talk about why it works on my iPhone 15 Pro Max isn't good enough as a developer. Okay, so quick agenda. We're just going to talk a little bit about what Sentry is, show you what monitoring can do, and then we're going to do a live demo. So wish us luck. We gave offerings to the demo gods, so you know. And then we're going to tell you a little bit about what else is with Sentry. So monitoring is kind of passive, in my opinion, in our opinion. Observability is even kind of passive. It implies just kind of sitting and waiting for something to kind of happen to you or your app. And so we want to take a more active approach at Sentry. We want to focus on debuggability, contextualized debuggability. So yes, our software will monitor at all times. But then when we inform you of something, we want you to be able to take action as quickly as possible so that you can resolve the problem as quickly as possible and get back to building something a little bit more fun rather than just fixing the errors of the past. So the things that we focus on are you understanding, so having enough context right from the beginning, understanding what is the problem, who is it affecting, is this going to be something that you should then prioritize, or is this something that can wait for the next release? And then being able to trace the issues all the way back down to the code, the database call, the service that you're using, et cetera. So it's just a high-level overview. Okay. Let's look at what Sentry/monitoring can do for you. This is going to be demoing a web app, just so you can kind of see the full context. But the same app is going to be used in the live demo when Krystof shows you the mobile version. This is EmpowerPlant. EmpowerPlant is this really awesome website where you can buy things for your plants. Because, all of us, internet wants to work. Maybe. Tethered. Oh, maybe that's why, because you're tethered. Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay. You can buy things for your plants. It's really cool. It's very real. Not actually. You notice, though, when we go to the products, we get this slowdown. Not a great look. Very cool products here, though. I really like this plant stroller because I kill all my plants. And so I want to buy one for each of my plants so it can walk over to me and tell me that it needs water and sunlight. We go ahead and we go to checkout over here. We fill out our information and we go to click submit, and it doesn't work. We submit it a few more times, and we do what we like to call a rage click, right? We actually qualify that as a rage click in the Sentry platform, which I'll show you. And after that's not working for a while, we're going to go ahead and report a bug. And this report a bug user feature is not yet available on mobile, but it is available on web. And you can just have this widget show up and you can report a bug right here and have that attached to your error reporting, which I will show you in just a minute. So we report this bug and I'm like, you guys, my plant's gonna die. And then we submit it. Okay, awesome. Once that's reported, a couple of things can happen depending on depending on your setups for your alerts. But the one that I like in particular is the Slack integration. We have integrations with practically everything, but I like the Slack integration because it sends you a Slack DM or into a particular channel with all of the information you need. So you can see right there that there was a rage click. It was happening on checkout. You can see the user it was affecting. You can see the version that it was affecting. You can auto assign right from within Slack. So if you are getting this information, or if you have like an SRE who's getting this information, but they're not necessarily the ones that are going to go resolve it, and they're like, oh my gosh, I know Krystof handles our checkout, immediately just assign that to him, and then that's the end of the whole chasing down who needs to do what. From in there, you can quickly jump into Sentry. So from that user demo Slack message, you can click, user feedback, you can click that, and that's going to take you here, which I'm going to make this one full screen. So this is Sentry. We can go into the user feedback. This one, if you click from in Slack, it'll automatically open it up to this feedback here that we're seeing. From here, we see that it's that same user, that same email address. You can assign it again from inside of Sentry. You can see at the top, we've got all of those integrations with GitLab, Jira, GitHub, et cetera. There's a session replay, which I'm going to save for Krystof to demo. We've got all of these different tags that might be useful information for you to identify what this problem actually was and where it's stemming from. And you can have a conversation with your teammates down at the bottom. This is the replay that, again, I'm going to let Krystof show off in more detail on a mobile example because that's more interesting for this conference. But we can jump into our errors list. We can see there's an n+1 query issue, which if you're just loading up, you see a slowdown, you don't know exactly where that issue is coming from. So you can jump into the n+1 query issue and see that it's been happening hundreds of thousands of times and affecting hundreds of thousands of users. You can see when it was first seen, which release caused this issue to be first seen. Again, issue track in whatever platform you're using, and you get all of this information here. So you can see which users it's affecting, you can see which environment it's affecting. Is this just in development environment, in which case I want to deprioritize it? Is it in production environment, in which case let's fix this now? You can, we auto group all of our events in these issues together, so then that way you can kind of click through and see, is this affecting kind of everyone in the same way, or is there different information happening on different users? So maybe there's a user that you're prioritizing. You can get a specific, or all of the detailed trace. This is our trace view, and here you can already see where the issue probably is. We're making the same DB query multiple times, and that's probably not the right thing to be doing. You even get things like web vitals, which again, more for web, and you can jump into our profiler and get information, detailed information about what's happening for this particular error. This is just a very high level overview. I wanted to show you kind of like how you might debug this issue. As you scroll down, in this case, this is an n+1 query issue, so we're seeing the queries that are causing the problems, but if this was not a database issue, then you would actually see the line of code and you could click right into GitHub to be able to resolve it. We, of course, have some AI. Right now, it's very, very minimal, but we are offering like, hey, maybe we have a suggestion for how to fix this problem. Oftentimes right now, because we're not trying to just like throw AI in everyone's faces, you click it and it's like, oh, I don't know. So, bear with us, but that's better than telling you to do the wrong thing, in my opinion. And then we have additional resources there for you as well. So that is basically what monitoring with Sentry is all about. I'm going to go back to the slideshow here. Okay, so you had in Power Plant, we had a slowdown. You get those messages directly in Slack or whatever platform you're using to be able to communicate with your team. And then you go through that whole Sentry demo. Does that make sense? Everyone kind of understand now? Cool. And that's, mostly, you saw though that there was like a slow DB query as well. So it's not just errors. We do performance monitoring also, and everything is connected right there. So as you saw, you get the n+1 query issue, you'd get the slow DB issue, you could trace everything and you can see everything as a whole. But again, I think we're more interested in what the mobile version looks like for this conference. So I'm going to pass it off to Krystof, who's going to give you a, oh, that one wants to work. Sure. Who's going to give you an actual live demo. So again, everyone knock on wood, for how Sentry's session replay for mobile works, which by the way, betaed this morning. So open beta this morning and we'll give you links to that at the end.
Thank you, Sarah. So as you all heard, sorry. As you all heard, it works on Sarah's iPhone 15 Pro, but I have here a Pixel 4 where it doesn't work, and we try to figure out why it's not working there. So we'll start easy. I have here the project, the React Native Empower plans, where the same as we've seen on the web, we can buy all kinds of weird plans. And so we are initializing Sentry here. We already have a bunch of options in, but because since this morning we can also add replay, we have two ways to do so. Replay. So one is replays on error. And that means we don't want to see the whole user journey from starting the app all the way to the end of the session when they close the app and left angry. We only want to see the parts where they are encountering errors, something's not working, and that's what we want to focus on. So for the purpose of the demo, I'll set it to 100% to make sure that my issue will show up in Sentry later on. And the second option is what I mentioned, the whole session, where it will get recorded from the application start all the way to the end. And so we can really browse through what the user was going and explore more their behavior. So for the purpose of the demo, I'll also set it to 100%. And those are the two options that get you started with the session replay. And there's one more magical feature to it. So this is a Metro config file that many of you are familiar with. Probably looks much bigger in your applications and isn't just the default config. But to make it simple here, we removed everything else. So we have this with Sentry config option that sets up Metro to work best with Sentry. And now there is this new option called Annotate React Components. It's just a Boolean. We enable this feature. And what it does, it makes sure that inside of the replay, we can see what usually we encounter during development. So you are familiar with this. It's the React Native DevTools. You open it up. You can look through the React Components tree. We have here a product detail screen where we open one of the plans and look at its description. We can add it to the cart. And so here we see the name of the component, product detail screen. We see the product detail. Then we have here down here styled button. That's our own button. As well, on the sidebar here, we see the file that it's in. And with that one flag we set in the Metro config, we'll get this also from production apps. So let's check out the app itself. So let's launch it. Let's try once more. Okay, so now you can see the app started immediately, but we are not seeing the plans. The same trouble, it's loading and loading. Now, I don't know yet if it's because of the internet connection here or if it's because of a slow DB query. We'll have to explore it later, but we are in the same store. We can go to the cart, it's empty, that's good. Let's check out the plans. I see here a plan that can speak. Never seen that before, $175. Sounds like a steal, let's add it. And because I want to make Sarah happy as well, she talked about a plan stroller. Let's check it out as well. Oh, a bit more expensive. Well, hopefully my credit card will work. Okay, the rest doesn't look that interesting, only $25 for some gadget. Okay, we have the two items in the cart. Let's go to the checkout. Using some demo magic, we fill in the information and press order. And it doesn't work, so let's press again and again. And okay, well, let's check out why it's not working. So this is the session replay screen in Sentry. I just refreshed it, and if everything goes well, we'll see the replay from what I just tried to do and try to purchase the plans. So you can see I took almost 2 minutes because that's when the session started. Let's open it up. And all right, now it loaded. When I start playing the video, we can see that the screen was loading. There was nothing there. And let me speed it up a bit. Now we are on the product screen. As you can see, and that's why I showed you first the app. You don't know which one is the voice plan, which one is the stroller, because out of the box, all the private information, all the text in the application, all the images, all vectors are redacted and on the device, so it doesn't leave the user's device, and you can use it and you don't have to worry about leaking information. So let's check out this part on the right. We already see some errors. I already see here DB query. Sounds awfully familiar. What else we can see here? User tabs. I'm clicking through them. We can see here the product list, profiler. let me go to the product detail that I mentioned before. So yeah, here we can see product detail screen. That's the part I mentioned before. That's why I showed the DevTools, because this was in production. It could take me a while to figure out what the user was interacting with, but thanks to the option in the Metro, now I see the exact name. I also see the element, so I see if I'm using pressable, if I'm using the text icon, as well as the file name, so I can quickly jump to the code base and fix things up. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom, and here it gets interesting. So I see here a Flask error. It's actually not from the React Native app, that's in JavaScript, that's React Native. That's our backend that's causing the 500 response that we can see below, which causes the app not to work, and I'm not able to buy anything, and I get sad and leave the application. Let's click through it, and when that loads, we will see the exact place in the code where the error happened. We see the line 109. We see that's where we capture the error. Luckily, we do try and catch, and we don't crash the app, but still the experience is quite awful. But now I know exactly where to go and where to fix it. But even though if I make the experience nicer, I make there some funny, goofy animation, the user still couldn't purchase the plans, and my business would be losing money. So let me scroll a bit more up, and I see here that in the same trace, error on the backend happened. So I'll click through that, and now I'm actually getting to the root of the issue. So instead of just fixing the UI, making it more pleasant experience, I actually know that I should go to the main.py on the line 120, and here I should figure out a better way than just raising an exception. All right, let's return to the replay. You can see that it kind of reminds DevTools. We have these breadcrumbs, but then there is a console, network, errors, trace. Let's explore what's hiding in those tabs. I click to the console. You can see the JavaScript console, again, the same as you would be debugging locally. You see the console logs. Here we have a warning log saying that we loaded only 10 products or less than 10 products. We have an error log that there were no products in the cart when we opened it the first time, and a bunch of other things that were happening during the app. If we go to the network tab, okay, yeah, we'll see the network requests that the application did. They are ordered by the time, so the first one is the request to the products endpoint. That's the one that took forever. We can see it was almost 13 seconds, but at least it succeeded. It returned 200. And then there are the other requests. And let's jump to the trace. So maybe we are curious why it took so long, why the request was almost 13 seconds. Was it because of the slow internet, or was it because of the backend? So we can open this up. Let's scroll a bit down, zoom in. And when I tried this in the morning, it was slow because of the backend. But now we can actually see that more than half of the time was the slow Wi-Fi, and then the other half of the time was our backend. So it nicely compounded, and instead of the 5 demo seconds, it created almost 13. But thanks to Sentry and having it on the backend and inside of the app, I'm actually able to say this with confidence, and I don't have to do any guesses. So let's explore a bit what was happening on the backend. We've seen in the breadcrumbs this piece of information that it was slow DB query. We've seen there also n+1 query. But here inside of the trace view, if I unfold these options, I can actually see what queries were executed, how long they took, and so I have much more detailed information about what's going on. And in my case, I'm the front-end developer, React Native developer. So I can push this away to different department, say like, guys, the app performs great. I'll just fix this animation and that's it for me. Yes. And if we scroll even more down, just inside of the demo, we want to show you that it's not only about one server that responds to the mobile app. We know and realize that there's many microservices that might be hidden behind, and we want you to be able to go all the way down deep to where the issue happened. So you can see that the Flask backend also made a request to a Ruby on Rails microservice, and you can all see it here. And before I hand it back to Sarah, there is one more small item I would like to show you, and that's the application start, where we nicely can see as the application started within 200 milliseconds, was very quickly loaded. We can also see some insights into what native parts, what activities were being loaded. And then the request happened and we were waiting for it. Yep. That was it for the demo. I hope you enjoyed it. And back to Sarah.
Yes, thank you. So now you got to see it actually working for real. That is all open beta available today as of like 45 minutes ago. So feel free to go ahead and check it out. It is something that was our most requested feature. We are an open, we are a source available company application. I'm gonna be careful there. So you can actually go on to GitHub and upvote or have conversations in the discussion tabs or in issues to let us know what you want to see for mobile support. Very quickly, I just want to give you kind of an overview of other things that are happening within Sentry. So tracing performance issues and errors, like I mentioned, we have been investing a lot of our time on our trace view and our trace explorer. Again, trying to make it as quickly as possible for you to take action as quickly as possible, or as easy as possible for you to take action as quickly as possible, so you can get back to actually building out the new features instead of just fixing bugs. We mentioned kind of two things today about how we are helping you get closer to your users. One is session replay, which is now available for mobile. And then the other one is user feedback, just an out-of-the-box widget right there. Every single user feedback submission has a replay attached to it. So you're not just trying to guess or ask your users, can you please reproduce that or tell me the reproduction steps so I could reproduce it? Instead, you could just watch what was happening. And as Krystof mentioned, we obfuscate any information that is likely to contain PII, so that's any text, input fields, or images. But if you know there are certain things that don't have PII, personal identifiable information, then you can unobfuscate those things. And then, of course, what kind of tech company would we be if we're not trying to leverage AI in some way? I mentioned kind of the suggested fixes, but these are two other ways that we're actually really focused on. So one is the auto fix, which is looking at your actual pull requests within GitHub and analyzing them and saying like, hey, I think this is actually going to create an issue or is related to this other issue that's already open. And then the other one is a couple months ago at Microsoft Build, we announced our Sentry Copilot extension. So if you're using the Copilot chat feature, I can't remember now the name, inside of Visual Studio Code, you can actually have a Sentry Copilot extension there that allows you to have a conversation right there with Copilot and ask it, say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this Sentry issue? And then it'll give you a summary of it if you just paste in the issue link. And then you can say, hey, can you tell me what file I should focus on to try to fix this issue? And it'll kind of guide you through that. Okay, here's your to-do. Number one, sign up with Sentry. We've got a free code here. You can either scan the QR code or just go to this bit.ly and put in chain react 24. You'll get 3 months free with the code. Check out all of our mobile support. So this is our mobile kind of landing page, which is going to link you to everything. And then the bottom link is our session replay for mobile blog post announcement that just came out about 45 minutes ago. So you should check that out. And then, of course, we have a booth here at Chain React. So we're just right upstairs over by the windows. We're got a big purple banner. Come check it out and ask us questions. We can demo everything for you live there as well. Thank you so much.